Welcome back. This is eSIM Studios, and this is your daily tech news. You know what time it is.
Yeah. Woo.
I just need my space right now.
Fresh off the G5 jet, on my way to a brand new kit.
Okay, we have an interesting couple of news items in the tech world today for Friday, October 27th, 2023. I missed the last day or two in tech news. I do apologize. Been super busy. I'm going to try to do this daily, but if I'm too busy to, excuse me, allergies are bad. If I'm too busy to fit this in, I do apologize. I may miss a day or two, but for the most part, I won't skip more than like 1 or 2 days. So let's get into this. Now, if you don't know, the government, the United States government, is suing Google, or I guess Alphabet is the parent company, under their antitrust law and/or monopoly, basically saying that Google is a monopoly company in and around the business sector that it conducts business. And I'll share a couple of interesting news items, but when you think about it, right, let me give you my opinion real quick. Now, is Google a monopoly? In my opinion, yes. However, there are other options, and moving forward, as far as, now look, what is Google, right? Google started out a search company. Google is a software company. Google is a advertising company more than anything. Now, it's very strategic in how it uses its advertising in and around its services. They're all tied in together, and they basically got lucky as far as right time, right place. I remember the first time I used Google, I think my dad told me about it, and this was back in, I want to say 2003, because he said something about, well, just search it on Google. And I was like, Google? I was like, what the hell is that? Like, that's a weird name. And my dad was telling me about it. Just Google it. So I think that was 2003. So I've been using it. We have all been using it for the last 20 years. Now, I say they got lucky because they basically started in a time where startups on the internet was a thing, when .coms was a thing back in 2001. I graduated in 2001, so I was what around 18 in 2001, and then 2003 I was like about 20 years old. So I aged myself right there. But they basically got lucky and exploded with the internet. As far as just Google it, right? People, whatever you needed to find, you Google. Whatever you needed to find, you would Google it. And this is worldwide. It was not just in the United States. So they basically blew up with the internet back in the early 2000s. And like I said, it's an advertising company. Now, I've used them for advertising. I don't anymore. I have mixed feelings in regards to their advertising as far as using it for your business. However, they do have some really cool features. I'm not going to get into why I don't use them anymore. However, getting back to the monopoly. Is it a monopoly? In my opinion, it is. However, there are other options out there. Bing, Yahoo was big before Google got onto the AOL online, as you know, American Online. But Yahoo's still operating. Bing, that Microsoft owns, is still operating. And we're going to get into one specific thing they can do that I think can help them in this case. Now, in this case, they are defending themselves, meaning they are not hiring any outside third-party lawyers and or law practices to help defend their case. Now, at first, when you think about it, like, well, that's not smart, but you think about it some more. Google has their own independent lawyers, meaning they have lawyers that are Google hires that just work for them. So it's not like they're just going to the cases willy nilly, having Joe Blow up there defending them. No, they have real big time lawyers defending them. They're employees of Google. They're not just hiring any outside law firms defending them in court. So it's kind of misleading when you hear that. But we'll get into one thing I think they can do that will help their case. Now, the government, if you're not familiar with antitrust cases, the government is basically saying, okay, you've gotten too big and you're basically cornering the market as far as the industry you're in. You basically give the consumer no other option. That's basically what it means, and the government wants to break up your company. Now, you saw this in the Industrial Revolution. I believe it was. I should have done my homework on this, but I watched a documentary a few months ago. Was it on Rockefeller with the oil? Basically, he dominated the oil and gas market in the Industrial Revolution. Right around when J.P. Morgan had to bail out the U.S. government as far as with the money. But so they would basically break up the government's looking to. Now, this is the biggest antitrust case probably in the last 25 years. They're looking. There's been a few other antitrust lawsuits brought forward on companies, but this is probably the biggest, considering it's in technology as well. Wherever this case goes, however the outcome goes, it will affect you in whatever you do on online. It will. Now, when it comes to Google, like I said, there are different options out there. Bing and Yahoo. Who uses Bing and Yahoo? I have no idea. I don't know one person that uses Bing and Yahoo. I know there's some people that hate Google so much that's the reason for them using Bing or for them using Yahoo. But if you have, I tried them a couple years ago just to see what it was like, because I haven't used them in probably 15 years before that, and it's horrible. Google services are far in a way superior to any other search engine online, and especially if you have a Google Pixel device. Everything ties in together, so it just makes it so much easier, right? All your searches are saved and all sorts of stuff. They tie it in very nicely. They're very, very good at that. But let me get into this article. It's interesting because Google is claiming in their defense that they are called Grandpa Google in the young demographic, right? So basically they're saying in their defense, Google is claiming that they are called Grandpa Google, as you can tell from the thumbnail that I made. They're claiming that the younger crowd, that Google is no more the cool thing to do or cool thing to use. Let's see here. Hang on one second. Let me get a better screen share. Make this bigger. There we go. Okay, so Google is claiming Grandpa Google knows the answers and will help you with homework. Search Boss testifies that Gen Z, which is the younger demographic, thinks that the tech giant is uncool. Now, I don't think that's a good defense, but they do have a point, meaning that a lot of the younger generation, like my generation, I'm 40 or 41. I used Google growing up. Just go to google.com, whether it's on your laptop, even before Chromebooks came out on your desktop computer, first thing you would do is go to google.com and basically search whatever you're looking for, right? From there, you can go to maps, you can go to websites, whatever. They are claiming, now look, this dude, this weirdo, I guess, I don't know who he is, Ian McGriggle, dressed as the Monopoly Man because it is a Monopoly case, stands outside or next to a vehicle transporting Kent Walker, which is the president of global affairs at Google and Alphabet, as the executive departs federal court on September the 12th in Washington. This dude's basically trolling the Google employee or Google as the monopoly man, right? Because this is a monopoly case. So the government has accused Google of illegally thwarting competitors from making inroads against its ambiguous search engine. Google tagged itself Grandpa Google among younger demographics who don't see it as an interesting product, which they may have. I just activated my Google search on my phone. They may have a point, because the younger crowd, I have a daughter, 13. I don't think she's using Google like that. She has used it once or twice, but look, they're the younger generation from 13 to, I don't know, probably 20, 25, something like that, are not using Google like I used to. They're on social media and searching social media, and just going right to their favorite platform to search, rather than us that would go to Google that encompasses all search results, and then we would pick a result from Google's collected results. The younger crowd is basically going to the platform they choose to search for whatever they're looking for, right? Let's see. Grandpa Google knows the answers and will help you with homework. But when it comes to doing interesting things like they like to start elsewhere. That's what I was saying. That's what I believe is true. I had not read this until now. I just saw the headline, put it up here on a share screen, and then opened it. So I had not read this before the Grandpa Google headline, but this is true. It is. I've seen it firsthand. When it comes to doing interesting things, they start elsewhere, which is what I just said. They'll go to social media. They'll go to their favorite platform, TikTok. They'll go to find information. They'll go to, which is not a good thing in my opinion, because you do get, if a platform or an application such as TikTok or Meta or Facebook or Instagram, if any one of those is far left leaning, you're typically going to get a opinion on, not a fact, that either leans left or right, correct? Like if you go to, what's their right leaning application that's a Twitter competitor, I forgot the name of it. There's a number of them. I know there's a couple of them, but if you go to a conservative leaning application or site or platform, you're going to get conservative leaning opinion / facts, right? So Google typically gives you everything, but it looks like the younger demographic is going to their favorite platform to search for certain results. It says Google lawyers showed a 1998 article from Fortune magazine which said Yahoo has won the search engine wars and is poised for much bigger things. That was in 98. That's before Google came on the scene and just smashed everybody. This guy who stated that, who once worked at Yahoo, said Google spends massive amounts on research and development to try and stay ahead of the curve as technology evolves. I feel a keen sense not to become the next roadkill. I think that was when he was at Yahoo. Now, if you don't know, let me get into what I believe personally that Google can do. I don't know if they can do this preemptively while the trial is going on, or I don't know if they can make a plea with the government to stay whole and intact, because Google does not want to be broken up into separate companies. Now, I think there's one thing they can do that would help their case moving forward. Let me move on to this next article. This shocked me. I knew this was the case. I just didn't know they spent this much money on it. Now, did you know that, I know some people do and some don't, did you know that Google pays Apple I didn't know the number. I knew Google pays Apple to be their default search engine on all iOS products. So whether it be your iPhone, iPad, or MacBook, Google pays Apple to make Google the default search engine on all Apple products. Now, this number shocked me. Google pays $26 billion a year, $26 billion a year to Apple to make it the default search engine on all Apple products. Now, that was in 2021. So that number is probably inflated and gone at probably 30 billion. I mean, that's an astronomical number. I mean, I knew they did that. I just didn't know the number. And they've kind of kept it secret. And now this lawsuit is bringing out these numbers. So this is how much they paid Apple. I mean, that is a ungodly amount of money. Now look, Google also pays and I'm sure a ton of money. Google also pays Safari is a part of Apple, so that would be part of the $26 billion. So Apple has Google as the default search engine on Safari, which is the Apple browser, but they also pay Firefox and a few other companies to be their default search engine. So Google's basically paying a ton of money, billions of dollars, to be the default search engine on numerous platforms. So my thinking, and I'm sure this has crossed their mind. Obviously, what do I know, right? But me just thinking, what if Google stopped that, right? $0. What if Google stopped paying other platforms to be the default search engine? So now they can say, well, look, we're not paying other platforms to have our search engine as their default search. That would allow the consumer of other platforms, meaning Apple iOS products, to basically have their choice of use whoever they want to. Because it kind of does look like, after seeing this, that Google is forcing these users of whatever mobile device you have to force. Now, you can change it in settings, but you and I know the average person is not going into settings and changing anything. The average user is just using what's on their phone. You and I are far different. We go into the settings, deep down into settings, and change all sorts of stuff. The average person, our parents, our aunts, our uncles, are not doing that. They're just using the phone that they get or their laptop that they get. I think if they can bargain this, or say make this part of, because again, it does look like if they're forcing, not forcing, but you and I know the average person, like I said, is not changing their default search engine. So it looks like, yeah, Google is basically forcing people to use their search engine. So if they stop doing this, just cold turkey, not even cut back, just stop completely, and actually have, whether it be Apple, now they would force Apple, they would make their own search engine. Now, that's part of the reason why Google pays Apple to be the default search engine, is because they don't want stiff competition from Apple. Apple once placed a bid to buy Bing. Microsoft purchased Bing. Microsoft won the bid to buy and use Bing and implement it into their Microsoft software. So that would force Apple to create or buy their own search engine and build that up and basically be a competitor. I think that would allow for more competition, and it would make it look like you're not forcing users to use Google, which I think has a part to play in the monopoly case. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just looking at it from the outside in, but that is my number one thing they can do, just off the top of my head, that looks logical. Now, it also helps people. It also helps Google. Everything's tied in together with Google using Google Maps, right? And it's implemented into Google Maps. That's how they have their traffic. And if you can tell if there's a traffic jam, you could turn that setting on into Google Maps. That's how it knows what the traffic is like, because it's tracking your phone, which is in your car with you, so it knows how fast the speed limit is on each road, and it knows how fast you're going, along with the person in front of you and the person behind you. So that's how they tell traffic, right? So it would affect that. It would also affect search results and data that they store on your device ID. So all this is tied together, but I think this would help their case. It would also force Apple to create their own search engine, which would create competition. So those are just my thoughts. Something to keep an eye on and check in. We will. These things take forever. Sometimes these lawsuits can take years to do and go over. They're always delaying stuff, so I'll keep an eye on it. And if any more interesting stuff comes out, I'll definitely report on it and let you know. So please subscribe, and so you can be up to date on the Google antitrust case versus the United States government. Now, some other cool news. I wanted to get into a new phone. Now, as you know, we have covered the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 release, the new super fast, super powerful chip from Qualcomm, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. And I mentioned on there, I think the first big phone is going to be the Samsung Galaxy S24 series. However, it's not the first. That's the first big phone we use in the US. But the first global phone to launch with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 was released yesterday, a day after the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 was announced. And that's the new Xiaomi 14. As you can see here, it looks like a pretty interesting device. It's actually affordable. It's still expensive, but it's affordable when you compare it to US flagships. So this one was just announced yesterday. Specs and everything, design, cameras, all sorts of stuff, and it will carry the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and it will be released globally. Now, they don't sell them in the US, but you can buy it if you're in the US. They're going to release it, I believe, late next month or late November, early December. And then you have the Samsung Galaxy S24 series carrying the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 that'll be announced January 2024, here in just a couple months. And then a release date of either late January, early February 2024. Now, it will not be released in the United States as far as any retail stores or online stores, but you can go to AliExpress and purchase this phone on AliExpress, and they will ship it to you in the US. Let's see, they release a number of different models, just like Samsung does with their Samsung Galaxy series. They have like a small one, a mid one, and then like their ultra version. Now, something very interesting about this, check this out. You know, Google just came out with the brightest display ever on any mobile device. Well, that lasted like all of like 3 weeks, because this new Xiaomi 14 is going to have a 3000 nit AMOLED display. 3000. It'll be powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. They're going to have Xiaomi 14, Xiaomi 14 Pro, and then I think they have like an Ultra. Let's see here. It'll have an LTPO display from 1 to 20 hertz. Resolution is going to be 1.5K, which is a higher pixel density. Let's see. It's a drastic increase from 3000 nits this new 14, up from 1900 nits on the previous model, the 13. As you can tell, it has some display specifications right here. This one will have 12-bit HDR color. The previous model only had 8. Don't know what the Mandarin or the Chinese writing is, but you can tell it does have some info you can read here that we can tell what it means. Let's see. It'll be 8.2 millimeters thin, 193 grams. That's basically all the information we went over. Let's see what the price is. It says Xiaomi will have a new 50 megapixel primary camera, 75 millimeter telephoto camera. Oh wait, that was on the last one. Yeah, I know. So it'll have basically a 50 megapixel primary and also a 50 megapixel ultra wide. Um, let's see, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3's new image signal processor. It'll have a 4600 milliamp battery, 90 watts of wired charging, IP68 certified, dust and water resistant, and it'll have their new Hyper OS operating system. They've been getting away from the MIUI, and it's now called Hyper OS. Although I'm told basically looks the same, so it's just a name change. So the Xiaomi 14 will start at $547, which is way under what I guess the equivalent would be the Samsung S24 series, which typically starts at I think $700. Now, why is it cheaper? And it competes against the Samsung S23 or I guess S24 because, like I said, those start at $700. So you see a price difference of about $150. Now, that's because Xiaomi is a Chinese company, and this is constructed and manufactured in China. So they get the parts cheaper, they get the manufacturing done cheaper. Remember, Samsung, Apple have to outsource all that stuff, right? Samsung's a South Korean company that has to get their parts manufactured and produced in other parts of the world, and then they may put it together. And then Apple's obviously an American company that gets parts and from different parts of the source from different parts of the world and have it put together. So they have extra costs in building the device, and Xiaomi does everything in-house in China. So that's why it is cheaper. Hang on, my battery's almost dead. Sorry. Camera almost died. Okay. Now, the base model will have 8 gigs of RAM, 256 of storage, and you'll also be available 12 gigs or 16 gigs of RAM and up to 512 or 1 terabyte of storage. And that'll be, let's see, at 6. So you can get a decked out 16 gigs of RAM and basically 1 terabyte of storage for $684, which is far cheaper than a Samsung S24, which I'm assuming will start out at like $700, and that's with 8 gigs of RAM. And I think they're doing a base of 256 this year, I believe. It says you can purchase some Xiaomi products on Amazon, but that's not their flagship device. If you want to get a flagship device, you got to go on AliExpress. They do have an official store on AliExpress that you can purchase this device at. And then the back is interesting. They have a square design. As you know, OnePlus, they have the circle design, which is another Chinese manufacturer. You got Samsung with the teardrop camera design. You got Pixel with the horizontal camera design. And then you have Apple with the squared off design. So with Android, it's interesting because you get different looking devices as far as the back and what they look like. Now, they all are having the same design language as the squared off edges, which I love. And it looks like this will have a flat display as well. Thank God. Looks like we're moving away from the curved displays. Very interesting. So, okay, so 4600, yeah, we went over that milliamp battery. So it looks really nice, right? It looks from the front, it looks just like the S24. It's going to have squared off design, just like the iPhones. Have a flat display with a hole punch right in the middle. So that's a nice classic design. And then the back is what looks different. So this will be a really, really nice looking phone. Really nice looking phone. It just probably won't see many here in America. Now, moving on. This is really cool, and I was gonna try to fit this in last episode, but couldn't. So I'm glad I can fit it in today. And I'm gonna look into this some more. Apple. Okay, so Apple has found a way. You know, like when you get, like, for example, the Pixel. This had, and most phones do actually. When you first buy a brand new phone and you open the box, it's got probably one, if not two, software updates. Generally one, but this one had one software update and then like 2 Google Play system updates. Apple has found a way to update their iPhones inside the box, sealed and everything. So when inside the store, so when the consumer purchases the phone, they open it up and they start using it. It's got the latest and greatest software on there, that so you don't have to update your device as soon as you open it up. Now, how they do it, I have no idea, but that is super, super cool. So on iOS 17.2 confirms the existence of a new system to update sealed iPhones at Apple stores. So I don't know if this is Apple specific, meaning you have to go to an Apple store. They only do it at Apple stores, or if they'll be able to do it in T-Mobile or AT&T stores. It says, I'm assuming it's just at Apple stores. It says, that's what it says right there. Let's see. It says earlier this month, it was reported that Apple's been developing a new system that will allow its employees to install software updates on sealed iPhones without taking them out of the box. With the release of the first iOS 17.2 beta to developers on Thursday, 9to5Mac was able to confirm the existence of this system. Now, it looks like they're the iPhones that are inside the box. So the iPhones that leave the manufacturing plant have to have at least iOS 17.2 installed on the device from the manufacturing plant. Whatever in that code has the system that can run the software update without the box being opened. Any existing Apple iPhone 15 Pro, Pro Max, whatever, at the stores now, that's not available to do that, because they had in the manufacturing plant, they not only put the phone together, but they obviously install the software on the device and in the storage, and then they continue to finish the production and box it up. Well, I'm assuming they put, I don't know what they did, but they installed probably iOS 17.0 on those devices in the manufacturing plant. But every iPhone that, when they install iOS 17.2 on the device at the manufacturing plant, and then those get boxed up and sealed and then sent to the Apple store, those that have iOS 17.2 installed that are sitting inside the Apple store in stock, those phones can be updated. So everything from here on out will be able to be updated inside the box, sealed in the Apple store. It says Apple can now wirelessly update sealed iPhones. So it's through wireless. So wirelessly update sealed iPhones to deliver them to consumers with the latest software available. The company has reportedly decided to invest in this system after being forced to release a day one update to iPhone 15 models to fix a major bug. Got you. We reported on that. That was the bug that would send you in a boot loop. It would be a boot loop on the Apple display. The only way to fix it is as soon as you open your iPhone 15 or 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, whatever, any iPhone 15 series, you had to update your phone, but you had to do it from a desktop iOS. You could not do it from an over-the-air iOS from your iPhone through Wi-Fi. It had to be plugged into a computer, updated there, and then you could continue to set up from there. So they want to get around that. I think you're going to see this on every phone here in the next few years. Samsung's going to adopt this. Xiaomi's going to adopt this. OnePlus is going to adopt this. Google's going to adopt this. This is a tool Apple produced, figured out, that I think every mobile device that a manufacturer across the board was going to adopt this. I can promise you that, because it does. It takes away the headache of these things, because it hurts the consumer. If somebody's iPhone 15 gets into a boot loop, they didn't watch our eSIM Studios video on how to fix it, they're not going to know what to do. They're going to take the device back to the store and return it. So all these little things makes run for easy releases, nice and smooth releases, makes it easier for the consumer. Interestingly, the iOS 17.2 beta SDK that comes with the latest Xcode 15.1 beta pretty much corroborates the support. There are 3 new internal frameworks named Factory OTA Logger, Factory OTA Network Utils, and Factory OTA Wi-Fi Utils that enable wireless OTA firmware updates by using a special external device. So I wonder if the phone, I wonder if there'll be a little cable inside the box, but it says wirelessly. So the device does not have to be powered on. I don't know. I don't understand the technology behind it. This is in line with what Gunman reported as the journalist described as the system as a proprietary pad-like device that the store can place boxes of iPhones on top of. The feature is, and I'm assuming update it like that. The feature is not intended for end users and is clearly marked as an internal in the codes seen by 9to5Mac. In the future, this will allow Apple to avoid major day one bugs by installing iOS updates on sealed iPhones. So what they'll probably do is when somebody goes to the Apple Store before they ship it out to you, if you go into an Apple Store and want to purchase one, they'll probably take their iPad or their device, and they'll put the box of the unit that you're going to purchase on there. They'll place it on there, update it, probably take a minute or two, and then continue on with the sale. And then they'll probably do that for every iPhone that's shipped that you buy online from Apple. They'll probably throw a number of them on top of the update unit. They'll update them and then continue on shipping them out. This system could also be useful in helping Apple to restore the firmware of iOS devices without the need for cable. In recent years, Apple's been working on new technology to help users restore devices such as the Apple Watch and Apple TV when they get stuck, since these devices can't be connected to a computer. That's right, it's all wireless. Let's see, well, at least for the Watch it is. And that just goes on about Apple iOS 17.2. So that's really, really, really cool. I'm going to dig into this some more because I'm personally very interested in this and how this works. I'll make a video about that in the future. If you're interested in how that works as well, subscribe to the channel and be on the lookout because I'm going to dig into this and see. Because I mean, it gives you the basics here, but I want to know more. So stay tuned for more information on that. Now, our very last item that I was going to get into is this is another piece of cool behind the scenes tech that is not being talked about. The new Pixel 8 Pro display is much more power efficient than Samsung or Apple. What does that mean? That means when your display is on like this, and you're just using your phone as normal, or you're watching a YouTube video, or you're watching a video that you recorded of your dog playing a wiffle ball, whatever, the power consumption of your display is considerably less than compared to Samsung or Apple. As far as the amount of how much it drains your battery, how much energy your display is consuming is very, very, very small. That leads to better battery life and more screen on time for you, the end consumer. After some testing, it was discovered that the Pixel 8 Pro can reach its peak brightness using only 47% of the power when compared to its predecessor. Courtesy of its Super Actua display, the Pixel 8 Pro display is more power efficient than Apple's iPhone 14 Pro Max and Samsung Galaxy's S23 Ultra. Consumers may find the changes in a positive light as the Pixel 7 Pro had severe battery drain issues with its display when launched in October of last year, 2022. As detailed by Dylan Raga of XDA on X, formerly known as Twitter, the Pixel 8 Pro's display can apparently attain peak brightness of its predecessor only using 47% of the power of the previous version. This speaks volumes in the latest device's power efficiency, as it only took 3 watts. Wow, that's amazing. To reach 960 nits, while the Pixel 7 Pro required 6.4 watts to achieve the same brightness. So it's basically using half the power. The display is using basically half amount of the power as previous generations of devices. Here we have a chart. Display peak luminance versus device power. So you get power on the bottom, how much power it's taking to power the brightness of the display going on the y-axis. And you can see when you get up to, what are we at, 1,000 nits, it's only using 3 watts. So the Pixel 8 Pro is in the red, the dark red up here. So it can attain more power using, it can attain more brightness using less amount of watts. Now look how far behind the Pixel 7 Pro is. Yeah, I've been having extremely good battery life. The best battery life I've ever had on any mobile device in history of my usage. I haven't really been testing it so much as of last few days, but I think even as maybe 4 or 5 days ago, there's a good 3 to 4 day stretch where I was really testing to see how much screen time and battery life I can get out of this device. Well, if I really tried, I can get a day and a half. I was getting 10 hours of screen on time since the last full charge. 10 hours, when majority of my devices I use probably get, I would say, 5 to 6. So yeah, I'm basically right on line, because like a lot of my usage, I'm not going to lie, is YouTube. If I'm not watching a YouTube show, I'm listening to a YouTube podcast while the screen is on. I'll be watching or listening to a show like just right now, right? So I'm watching the show. The YouTube show is minimized, but the screen still stays on. So I'll put my phone down, just rest it down, continue to listen to it, or a how-to or some tech podcast or something, right? While the screen is on, and then you can obviously turn it off and it still works, but sometimes I'll just set my phone down and forget. I'm getting 10 hours of screen on time. And if I really tried, I could squeeze almost 2 days of life out of this thing. I've seen tech reviewers say, yeah, the battery life's not that good. It's about the same as last year. I'm like, what? Are you sure? What phone? Are you sure you're using the Pixel 8 Pro? Because I'm getting the best battery life I've ever gotten on my life on this device. Now I don't have the Pixel 8 to test out, but the Pro is phenomenal. So I'm not sure what other people are doing, but my wife's phone has been getting really, really good battery life too. I don't think she's hitting 10 hours, but she's hit 9 hours. So both of our phones in the home are getting well over 9 hours of screen on time per day, and mine's hit 10. So best battery life I've ever gotten on any device. Very, very, very good power efficient device. I would recommend it. If you're always anal, if you're worried about battery life, or if you go out of the home a lot and you're always worried about where your battery's at, trust me, this device will save you a lot of worry. I can promise you that. So it doesn't really say. Okay, so the iPhone 14 Pro Max and Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra both require at least 4 watts of power to reach 960 nits. And the Pixel 8 Pro only needs 3. So it's much more power efficient. And that goes to the goes to tell you how efficient and power efficient the Tensor G3 chip is, right? We've said on here and tested it. It's not the most powerful chip you're going to find in a mobile device, but it's geared towards machine learning, AI, and good battery life. It's very power efficient. Now, you could play any game you want. There's no issues there. It's not going to wow you on these benchmark tests. And again, don't always look at the benchmark tests. We test them just because that's what y'all want to see. But I don't judge my device and how well they perform just off benchmarks, right? It's super fast, super fluid, no hiccups, and it gets good battery life. And I haven't had any app crashes, nothing wrong, no stutters, nothing. It's been a perfect, wonderful experience. I recommend it to everybody. You cannot go wrong with this Pixel 8 Pro. Let's see. Pixel 8 Pro is using the Super Actual display, and it's actually a Samsung E7 AMOLED LTPO display. Potentially the first to use on a smartphone. Wow, interesting. So this is a brand new display, meaning not the glass, that's a Gorilla Glass Victus 2. Not the glass part you touch, but the actual colors, what you're looking at. That's manufactured by Samsung, and they're saying it's a brand new display. Samsung's never even put in any foam. This is the very first device they've used this display in. I can guarantee you they're going to put this E7 Samsung AMOLED display in the new S24 series, because it's getting really good performance out here, not only in testing but in real life usage. So I guarantee you they're going to use this on their new S24 series. And again, the new S24 series are supposed to be capable of reaching 2500 nits, so just a little over what the Pixels are using. So they're going to want power efficiency for good battery life. And the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is going to get very good battery life. I can guarantee you it's more powerful yet more efficient. So we should see really good battery life on these S24 series, especially the Ultra. We all know that they're going to get bigger batteries on the S24s across the board. They're going to get better screens. They're going to get better power efficient screens, better power efficient CPUs, and again, bigger batteries. So the battery life, I think, on these S24 series are just going to be awesome. So we finally hit the stage where you're really starting to see good battery life in mobile devices. We've been stuck on this hill where you only get 4 to 5 hours of screen on time, and that's about it. We're stuck on that hill for like, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. And now it looks like this one's getting 10. My wife's is getting 9. So it looks like, I guarantee you, the S24 Ultra, you're going to see 9 to 10 hours of screen on life. I can guarantee you that. So it looks like we are headed in a very good direction with these new Snapdragon processors and these new Samsung power efficient displays. So I do appreciate the time. I'm going to end it right here. I'm going to try to cap these right at around 30 minutes. So I think I've been going on for, 45 minutes. God dang. So I got to get out of here. I got stuff to do, but I do appreciate you joining us for daily tech news. I'll see what cool stuff we got in for the future tomorrow, and we will call it a day. Thank you very much. Please subscribe to the channel. We got tons of cool stuff on the way. Peace out.